for Monday, August 31st, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show. Trying to encourage people to be better citizens. That means you're going to have to take some of your time. Stop watching reality TV, not for hours a week, but for maybe a few hours a month, to absorb the factual information, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against. All of these major issues, all the things that are before us, they are more complex than fit on a few words on a hat or a bumper sticker, okay? And so please, for the good of yourselves, your children, your neighbors, this nation, the planet, you've got to be better citizens. So today's show, I'm going to actually talk about election, the 2020 election, and I call today's show Election Week. And the reason why is that because of the pandemic and because of concerns over safety, many people, including myself, will be doing absentee ballots this year. And I mean, it's many, many, many. And the normal level of absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, compared to what's going to happen this year, it's the authorities that have done some of this in the primaries up to this point, they've just been overwhelmed with the sheer volume of these mail-in ballots. And they take extra handling, okay? So you have to open the envelopes, and they're checking signatures and things like this. So it's a pretty cumbersome effort. And so statement number one is request your ballot early. Request it as soon as you're allowed to by your locale, and get it, and then fill it in right away, and then send it in, okay? Because there are many locales where they'll actually start counting the votes. They won't announce anything, but the clerk's offices and stuff will start counting the votes and keeping those vote counts, registered but secret, step by step, until the election actually occurs, and then they start releasing the information. So it's perfectly safe and whatnot, but wow, is it going to cause a major delay in the election results. And so let me just I found this article online, and it's entitled "Be Patient on Election Night. Counting the returns will take time." So this is to show you this article, and you can find it yourself. Obviously, if you Google that title, you'll find it. So it's time to let go of old ideas about how the election night will work. This November, there's a good chance we won't have a clear winner in the morning on November 4th. So amid the pandemic, states are urging residents to vote by mail, and this is going to be a much more time-consuming ballot counting process. Again, get your ballots early, send them in early, let them start counting at the soonest that their local laws allow. So, for example, in this year's California primary, 5.8 million people voted in the presidential primary, and 3 million of those ballots were counted by election night, so roughly half. The other half, 2.8, almost half, took an additional 7 weeks to count. Now, I don't think there's any way that that's going to be occurring on November 3rd and 4th, but it easily could be. The votes would be counted November 3rd, November 4th, November 6th, 5th, November 6th, November 7th. There could definitely be a handful of states. And And there's battleground states like my home state of Wisconsin, and then Pennsylvania, Michigan, New Hampshire, and these states have changed their rules and are allowing more and more voting by mail this year. Um, and these are the states that don't have a lot of experience overseeing elections with a high mail-in ballot participation. Um, and so what is going on here, the Federal Election Commission and other administrators from around the country are all urging the various media outlets that will be covering the election to emphasize over and over and over again that the election night is really going to be more like election some days, and that this is not an indication of some kind of fraud or impropriety or whatever. It's just the sheer volume. And so I hope that some of the major news outlets will actually cover that detail in some depth to give people an idea of the differences between you have a polling place with either the paper ballots, which were scanned by a machine typically, or some kind of punch thing, which was already an electronic input and was registered very quickly, versus opening up an envelope and then verifying, look at the witnesses and stuff on there, and then comparing the signature to signatures from the identification that was sent in, and making sure that they match fairly well, and then counting the vote. So there's a significant difference. A standard ballot maybe is a man-minute or something, and one of these mail-ins, could be 10 minutes to do each one. So it's going to be considerably longer. And the reason why I'm doing this show is for any number of people that watch it or eventually watch it, to emphasize that this again is not an indication of fraud or some kind of conspiracy or problem with the vote. It's just the way things are. And much like the pandemic has slowed down so many things, if you're going through a drive-through or going to a restaurant or whatever, the whole social distancing and everything about this to maintain some safety has had this ripple effect throughout the economy, the ripple effect throughout the workplace, and degrading the efficiency of which things are done. So it's just taking longer to get a lot of different things done. That's just the way it is because of the pandemic. And the same thing is true for now voting in the election because of this it's a great thing. Don't allow anyone to tell you otherwise, that it is a great thing that for safety's sake, all these election administrators across the country are allowing and encouraging much more mail-in voting. That's a good thing. It's a great thing from the standpoint of getting the votes, getting them accurately tallied. It's just going to take longer, okay? But it's going to be a lot safer and a lot better on the whole, and fewer people potentially sickened by the coronavirus because they went to the polls, had to gather in close proximity to other people who might be infected, and so on. So, for example, in Ohio, the reason why I was talking about get your votes in, get these mail-in ballots in early. For example, in Ohio, it says election officials can start processing the ballots about a month before election day. So as these things are coming in, they're doing like the pre-processing to get them ready to be tabulated. So it's I mentioned maybe to do all the work to open the envelope and compare the signatures and identification, all this stuff. Maybe that's 8 of the minutes, and then there's another minute or something to actually count the vote and register it in a database. Well, they'll do that, 6, 7, 8 minutes of upfront work and have these ballots, basically ready. So they're all verified. They're the identifications are correct and so on, and they're just at a place then that on the election day they can quickly go through them because they've done all the pre-work on them. This is what they're talking about doing in Ohio. So in Arizona, they have a new election law that will allow officials to start tallying results, but not posting them publicly 14 days before the election. And in Michigan, election officials must wait until 7 a.m. on election day to start processing the ballots. So there's a pending bill there that could move that earlier by a day. So this is the kinds of things that are going on, and unfortunately, it does also point out, the election and the ballot counting process and stuff like that. It should be local, that's for sure. But this thing where everyone's doing it differently, that's probably not good on the whole. There should be more of a national standardized methodology that we've agreed upon, where all the localities are actually executing on how that's done. But this kind of variation where some states are prepping ballots weeks in advance and then just tallying them right at the end, versus starting to tally for 2 weeks, versus no, you can't start tallying the vote until election day. It's crazy. It's like saying, oh, I can go to this state and well, I mean, we have lots of examples, but severe cases of, well, this state, certain violent crimes would be legal versus this state where they're not, and so on. It's kind of a crazy thing. But anyway, the whole point behind the show is, as the title suggests, election week. So I know there's going to be a lot of frustration and a lot of churn about, well, what does this mean, and the vote counts, and so it's going to be a very long, drawn out process. And I'm sure, yet again, adding to even more frustration for the average American like you and I. But on the whole, mail-in voting is a great idea, is going to be a very solid way of getting the votes, but unfortunately taking several days longer than we're used to. For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.